With the recent outbreak of measles that occurred over the past few months, there's been a lot of debate on both sides between whether people should be forced to be vaccinated, mandatory vaccines, or shouldn't be vaccinated at all. There's been strong arguments on both sides of the spectrum. What we're going to do in this video is break down for you recent pushback, not just in Connecticut here, but also in different states across the country, to allow exemptions which have been put in place already, whether it's been on religious grounds or grounds for exemptions that people can write down so that they won't have to be vaccinated, with their being their own choice and their own consent, whether their children should be vaccinated. With Connecticut, there's a recent bill, House Bill 6949, which was an act concerning childhood vaccines and how it's related to it. And I recently covered a conference where there was a panel discussion about this at the Connecticut State Capitol. And basically what they're trying to do is saying it's for the children for vaccines. Not going on the grounds of saying it's going to be completely mandatory, but they're still... They're keeping the door open related to this idea whether there should be mandatory vaccinations for children or there should be exemptions, or should we get rid of the exemptions altogether and make it so that children can only attend public school if they get vaccinated. If they don't, then they can't attend public school. So the different elements of that was the elements about vaccinations and the people that testified, saying whether it was philosophical objections or an actual exemption on religious grounds, religious and philosophy, two different aspects, but still relative to the idea that they should be exempt on these vaccines. Basically what they did was, whether it was stated religious beliefs, medical conditions, or philosophical reasons that they made in the testimony. But the argument basically was the idea that saying we need to protect this is the argument of the commissioner that was testifying at the time in Connecticut at the state capitol. Basically the argument was herd immunity, but isn't necessarily needed to protect everyone. So the idea is saying that allowing exemptions for some would be okay on emphasis, but they kept the door open related to mandatory vaccinations and whether they should be applied to children or not, on whether they should attend public school or not. So what happened was they used the argument of critical public health needs and saying that children need to be vaccinated because of these, to prevent measles outbreaks that took place in California and other places across the country. But what happened is there's different states across the country now that already have exemptions on the books already, on different bills across the country, on different websites about this. Multiple states have put exemptions in place, and some are actually under threat by different parts of the country related to whether they should get rid of the exemptions or they should keep them or not. But what happens is, with the vaccine argument, it tends to lead towards pharmaceuticals, otherwise known as Big Pharma, which tends to make huge profits off of vaccines the more that people use them and that they're applied to not just the United States, but also around the world. And there was a recent study in not only in Canada about the vaccine prices and how they're related to profitability with pharmaceutical companies and related to them going up when they have more of an incentive to put out PR campaigns to say everyone needs to be vaccinated, so that then they make more profits as an incentive when that happens. So what we're trying to do is trying to cut through this. We're trying to cut through both sides to try to give you perspective of whether not forcing any decision to vaccinate on somebody or their child. What we're trying to do is try the idea of consent, of informed consent, that people should have all the information that's needed before they make a decision on whether to vaccinate their child or not, or even a family member or families should have that decision to look at all the information that's available on both sides and then make an informed decision on their own, not to be forced by any government or any entity to vaccinate their child without knowing all of the information that's available at the time. And a good documentary I would recommend that just came out a few months ago was Bought. the truth behind vaccines and GMOs. It does touch upon GMOs, but vaccines, it's important because it raises different implications on whether pharmaceutical companies have the consumer's interests at heart, and whether they're presenting all the information about how vaccines are, whether they're safe or whether they're have additives inside them that could actually cause more harm to somebody, or whether they could do the opposite effect, or they actually do help people. The difference is we should have all of the information that's needed to make an informed decision, whether it's on GMOs or vaccines. Everyone should have the information that's available for them to make a choice that they should make, and leave it up to them, not up to the government to impose that idea on everyone and saying that we're under good intentions to help children and help people, saying it's for the children. It should be up to the parents of those children to make that decision on their own for themselves, not to have any third outside entity such as the government to force that decision onto people. So let us know what you think of this video, whether vaccines are important, whether they've helped, whether they haven't helped. We appreciate all comments about this video, and because it's a very important topic now that's actually getting pushback in different state levels related to vaccines, whether they should be mandatory, should they be mandatory, should they not be mandatory. Let us know what you think in the comments below about this video, and also that topic about vaccines. Check out all of our videos related to also GMOs and vaccines as well, and how we have to talk about very important implications here related to vaccines and how important they are, and also GMOs. They're very hot topics to talk about, and they should be talked about because it's very important related to our health and our well-being. So let us know what you think of all of those videos. Check them all out on our channel. Don't forget to subscribe for more videos coming soon about those topics and so many more. And stay tuned for more videos coming soon.